going to a different economy, and we're going to be learning more about that as we go. But clearly, we're learning that things can be done from remote locations. We're learning that technology can replace people even more than we thought.
We're not going back to the same economy. We're recovering, but to a different economy, and it'll be one that is more leveraged to technology. And I worry that that is going to make it even more difficult than it was for many workers.
In Silicon Valley, and my friends who work in technology know that what we did to the manufacturing workers, we are now going to do to the retail workers, the call center workers, the fast food workers, the truck drivers, and then even bookkeepers, accountants, insurance agents, lawyers, and on through the economy. So what happened to the manufacturing workers is a very clear sign.
This effort. And China has big plans for this. They intend to seed their digital yuan into the global environment by giving it away to visitors at next winter's Olympics. When they arrive at the airport, they're going to get yuan digital wallets. They're going to receive digital yuan. They're going to use it throughout their visits to Beijing, and then they're going to take it back to their home countries. They see this as a huge advantage. Why? Because who controls the underlying protocols, who controls the underlying standards of the future of money will control the future of money.
Carsten Stöcker, I founded a startup called Spherity, and Spherity is a combination of sphere and identity, because the core hypotheses we have in the context of the fourth industrial revolution, so when the digital, physical, and biological spheres are bridged by new technologies, that we need an identity system that fulfills basically this requirement to connect human identities, living organisms' identities, with physical identities, with objects, with machines, with autonomous agents, and connect this with identities in the digital sphere. So that's what we basically do. We truly believe we need an interoperable system that can connect all these identities. We don't need a silo system, identities for vehicles, identities for people living in Portugal, identities for objects in a fast-moving consumer goods supply chain. So with fourth industrial revolution, when all the technologies are blended together, then we need a pretty interoperable identity system. And probably also worth to say, so from a scaling perspective, fourth industrial revolution perspective, it's really valuable to look into what the Chinese are doing. The Chinese are pouring triple-digit billion dollar into all kind of fourth industrial revolution technologies. There's just one Chinese conglomerate who's building a smart city for $32 billion US. And I think that the culture and the mindset topic, so we are asking for business cases and for a little bit of tiny things. And the Chinese business case is Chinese supremacy, and it's a global competition we are in. I will come back to this a bit later. But anyway, so identity, fourth industrial revolution. So if you look in the internet, today we have 4 billion people in the internet. So we soon have 40 billion IoT devices. We have double-digit, triple-digit billions of software agents in the internet. So soon we have a transition from a human-focused internet with all transactions among humans to fully digital machine autonomous agents internet with entirely new concepts of identity. And with entirely new concepts in the digital world, I have my digital identity sitting here. Let's say it's my Amazon Alexa agent. I can easily create it, update it, remove it. I can clone, split, merge it. I can aggregate it. I can put some optimization. I can do a lot of things in real time at a very high frequency with the digital identity. It's an entirely new concept compared to humans, which is pretty static. So in addition, so fourth industrial revolution, so we're very passionate about it. It's called by Gartner autonomous things. Some other people call it a thing with a ubiquitous agent. So it's basically identity is not static anymore. So with all the data sitting in the database, government database, blockchain database, whatever. So our digital identities will be connected with autonomous agents, and the autonomous agents are selling our data, providing access to our physical resources, to our smart home, are providing signals from our healthcare data, kind of to do a prediction, do I need to change my lifestyle, kind of to have better health? And these autonomous agents will pretty much change how we interact. And by the way, there's one big automotive player in Germany that's not asking the question anymore how to sell our cars. It's asking how to sell our mobility services to Amazon Alexa in a business to agent to consumer play, and to be relevant in the future after we have peak auto and no one sells cars anymore. And so bottom line here is, so in terms of this interoperability, digital identity with humans, physical objects, the cars, and software agents, so there's a bit of interoperability needed. So we heard about verifiability. It's extremely interesting. So in Germany, we have Industry 4.0 and other European countries as well. I think we are world leading here. And in Industry 4.0, there's one big problem. So when I produce in a manufacturing production line, I produce an object, then the object has some inbound logistics, object's been produced, it's quality assured, it's kind of sold as a component, implemented in a car, in a product. So there are a lot of transactions going on. The object has to be verified. The quality assurance data needs to be checked. There are some quality inspectors coming in. And there's one big problem in Industry 4.0 when I have this object with the identifier sitting in the tier 1 supplier database that then sells the digital twin, the identity, to an OEM, and the OEM sells to a fleet operator. This doesn't work at all. It's not interoperable from an addressing scheme, and it's not working from a verifiability thing, because when it's a fleet operator needs to verify a spare part, or an insurance company needs to verify a piece of telematics data, they cannot independently do it. And with blockchain, taking the root of trust out of central databases, putting it on a decentral distributed ledger, suddenly every player along a value chain can take an object, can take an assertion, you mentioned the assertion, can independently verify it, and this is super valuable for Industry 4.0. And of course, what can be done in Industry 4.0 can also be done for humans, and that's a little bit the perspective we have here. So before I close, I think it's a big myth when it comes to blockchain identity that we have all these sandboxes and regulatory kind of clarity in place. There are a lot of use cases that can be done into today's existing market designs, into existing regulatory frameworks. So it's not about crying like, I need to do this, the regulators and the policymakers. A lot of stuff can be done today in terms of kind of taking on the competition with the Chinese. Chinese are doing large-scale field tests. I think we also have to go in the same direction to have a little bit more dual mode of operations approach, like existing systems in parallel, distributed systems, field testing it, scaling it to build the technology competencies here to compete with Chinese supremacy in the near future. And also the US, and that's where I want to really close, because the US is pushing standards like hell. So in the World Wide Web, W3C consortium, they're pushing the standards, and you mentioned them, verifiable claims, decentralized identities, the semantic webs. They are pushing the standards. And when I look in this ecosystem, I don't see so much push from European player here and there. There are some, but it's a brute force in the US. So we have to take on the competition with the Chinese in terms of their risk appetite to scale and build technologies for supremacy, and also with Americans that try to standardize everything else for the future of the internet. And it's pretty competitive. And here in Europe, we have to co-create, to collaborate, to cooperate among each other to stay competitive.
Welcome to the Crypto Teacher. And guys, I come back with a video just to make you think. And this one is the EU Parliament back in 2019. And guys, we know when I talk about everything is planned out. When I brought you the Society 5.0 videos, we have the guy standing there bringing Japan in for the 4th Industrial Revolution. He goes over the 4th Industrial Revolution, robots, algorithms, and drones. And this one, the EU is talking about the digital ID and how important it's going to be. And you guys know that I've done several videos on a digital ID, blockchain, and how everybody's going to be tracked like sheep. And remember, the Crypto Teacher told you. Now, what's very important to understand about the New World Order, if you have my book, you understand. You have to understand the past. You have to know the history. And then also, you have to know the present time that you're in. And I'm not talking about the illusion. I'm talking about actual conscious people who understand the present time they're in. And then plus, be able to look 5 and 10 years down the road. That is so important to understand a plan. The problem is people leave out one of the three. You have to put all three together in order to understand it, because that means that you're linking the puzzle together. And I want to talk about 5 and 10 years down the road. Because if they can upload your whole brain, and you know the brain is nothing but software, and they can upload this, guess what they can do, guys? They can delete it, they can change it, and manipulate your thoughts. And we know the manipulation of thoughts is coming. That's right around the corner, guys. We're years away, maybe 1 or 2 years away. We know that Elon has the Neuralink. We know the military is working on it. And we know with 5G, it makes it all possible. And if we look at all the patents I've been over in my videos, we understand the end game. And they're going to be able to control the masses. And remember, the crypto teacher told you, get your friends and family educated. At first, you can say, well, this was a little far-fetched. But now, guys, we're seeing all the evidence. It's all lining up. The pieces of the puzzle. Only thing I have to do is look. The New World Order is in the final stages. Because I know when it comes to the New World Order, it's all planned out. You have a wonderful day.
Times uplifted a little bit. But by doing that, you start building like an ID. And it's not an ID like we put your passport, we put it in a blockchain. It's an ID that can live on different blockchains. You can have like an educational institution making a blockchain where they put information on it, but you can have other blockchains. And for us, it's important, and we are also working on that, to connect those different blockchains together. And by doing that, you can buy trust. Now, to come back on ID, as part of my role, I was also in other sessions with NATO, and where they discuss also the use case of blockchain. And one of the use cases, it's like refugees that they're facing. So you have in a situation, it can be a war situation, but it can also be a civil disaster, something that happened. But certainly in a war scenario, by definition, the people who are fleeing from the country don't trust the government anymore. So then having an ID based provided by that government is not something that you can work. On top of that, in the world, there are more than 1 billion people who don't have any way to prove who they are. They don't have any papers. They don't have birth certificates. Okay, that's maybe uncommon in the Western world, but even I heard just before the meeting that even in the UK, we're talking about 1 million people that don't have all those needed papers. So, and then again, you can have a technology like blockchain helping there. And no, you will not have
The most powerful person in the world is the storyteller. The storyteller sets the vision, values, and agenda of an entire generation to come. Steve Jobs. And guys, you know I truly believe in this. When you look at the New World Order, they're the storytellers. And that's the reason why I wrote my New World Order book. But guys, now it's time to change the current generation. And I wrote 3 kids' books. You know, I love the Trinity because I understand the power that's in it. So I have 3 books. We have an opportunity to change the generation, to educate, not just me, but I want to show you that I take action on a daily basis. And I want you to take action on a daily basis. Whether it's your job, whether it's in your community, we have an opportunity right now to educate the masses. I posted this on my Twitter account. Please share, but this is a short clip of the 3 books. There's going to be a clothing line and action figures. Please get these books for your kids, nephews, cousins, friends, so therefore we can start the re-education now. Because as we see, the 4th Industrial Revolution foundation is definitely here. Robots, algorithms, drones, taking humanity out the picture. We have to re-educate. But let's get into the video.
Part 1. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save the village. Part 2. King Joshua and Grandma Tam save New York. From COVID Stories 3. Part 3. King Joshua and Grandma Tam goes to China.
It's mandatory to get part 1, part 2, and part 3 of this series. It's time to re-educate Generation Z.